It was pouring rain the night she found him. The streets were nearly empty, the city drowned in thunder, headlights blurred by the storm. Aaliyah clutched her thin jacket tighter, trying to protect the plastic bag of medicine she had just picked up for her ailing mother. She didn't expect her night to change. She didn't expect her life to change, but fate had other plans. Just as she reached the corner of the old underpass near the hospital, she saw a man collapse near the edge of the road. At first, she thought he might be drunk, well-dressed, tall, expensive shoes soaked in rainwater. But when she rushed over, panic swelled in her chest. His skin was pale. His forehead was slick with sweat. Not from the rain, but fever. His breathing was shallow. One hand gripped his chest tightly, the other reaching out as if begging for help before it fell limp. She crouched beside him, heart racing. "Sir, are you okay?" she whispered, gently shaking his shoulder. No response. People walked past. Some glanced. Most didn't care. No one stopped. She didn't know who he was. She didn't care. All she knew was that he needed help. She called for an ambulance, but the line was busy. With trembling hands, she checked his pulse. Her medical knowledge limited to what she'd read online for her mother's care. His heart rate was irregular. He was burning up. Without thinking twice, she tore open the bag of medicine. Her mother's leftover fever injection was still there. It was risky. She wasn't a doctor. But the man looked like he wouldn't survive the next 10 minutes. "Please don't die," she whispered, her voice cracking as she prepared the injection and jabbed it into his arm, praying she was doing the right things. Minutes later, flashing lights approached, and paramedics rushed over. She stepped back, drenched and shaking. One of the EMTs gave her a strange look. "Where did you get this injection? Who are you?" I'm no one. Just tried to help," she said. They loaded the man into the ambulance. As they shut the door, one of them muttered under his breath, "That's the CEO of Yates Corporation." Aaliyah blinked. "CEO? Of what?" She walked home in a daze. Her mother was waiting. Bills were due. Their landlord had threatened eviction. She didn't know she had just saved one of the country's most powerful men. The next morning, the entire city was buzzing. Yates Corporation, CEO collapses mysteriously. Found by unknown girl. Doctors, puzzled. What revived him? Search begins for the woman who disappeared after saving the billionaire. Alia saw it all on the news while folding laundry. Her hands froze. That man was William Yates. William, the youngest CEO in the industry, known for his cold heart, unmatched intelligence, and a mysterious condition that no one talked about publicly. His rivals feared him. His employees respected him. But almost no one truly knew him. And now, apparently, she was the only reason he was alive. Aaliyah kept her head down. She didn't tell anyone. Her world was already complicated enough. She worked 2 part-time jobs and took care of her bedridden mother. She had no space in her life for a billionaire, or the chaos that followed him. But chaos came looking for her anyway. 2 nights later, a black car appeared outside her tiny apartment. A man in a suit stepped out, scanning the neighborhood with mild disgust before knocking on her door. "Miss Aaliyah," he asked politely. "Mr. William Yates would like to see you." She froze. Her instincts screamed, "No, I think you have the wrong person." The man didn't argue. Instead, he handed her an envelope. Inside was a check, with her name on it, an amount that made her gasp. "He just wants to talk," the man added. 5 minutes, no pressure. But when she stepped into the grand hospital suite later that night, she realized something was deeply wrong. William was awake. but struggling. He looked at her like he recognized her. Not her face, but something in her. His eyes, sharp and intense, locked onto hers the moment she entered, as if trying to understand why he felt alive again. His assistant explained everything. William suffered from a rare condition, an immune and neurological disorder triggered by stress and trauma. Conventional medicine barely helped him. For years, he'd relied on a specific, tightly controlled formula to manage it, but even that was beginning to fail. Until whatever you gave him that night, the doctor said, it stabilized him in a way we've never seen. But more than that, his body responded to you, to your presence, like you were calming something inside him we didn't even know how to treat. Aaliyah stared, speechless. William, still weak but commanding, finally spoke. I need you to stay with me, just for a while. Aaliyah's heart pounded. I'm not a nurse. I'm not anything. Why me? I don't know yet, he said quietly. But when I woke up, the only thing I remembered was your voice. She should have walked away. She almost did. But then her phone buzzed. The hospital bill for her mother's next treatment had arrived, an amount she knew she could never afford. And William, watching her silently, just said, help me, and I'll help you. Aaliyah didn't know it then, but that was the moment her life became entangled with his. A girl from the slums, and a billionaire, trapped by secrets no one understood. She didn't know yet that some people would do anything to keep her away from him, or that her very existence would turn out to be the one thing that could save him, or destroy them both. But for now, she looked at him, nodded once, and said the words that would change everything. All right, I'll stay. What she didn't see was the shadow watching her from the hallway, the person who had sworn William would never recover, not while she was alive. Aaliyah didn't sleep much that night. After agreeing to stay, she had been taken to a private apartment on the top floor of the hospital, right next to William's suite. The room was bigger than her entire house. She felt out of place, like a guest who didn't belong, surrounded by marble floors, velvet curtains, and silence that made her heart race. She kept thinking, what am I doing here? But when she peeked into his room later that night, William was wide awake, sitting against the pillows, eyes distant. His breathing was steady, but there was a strange tightness in his jaw, as if he were fighting something invisible. Then he looked up and saw her. You're still here, he said, as if surprised. I said I would be. Something softened in his face, almost like relief, but it vanished quickly. Over the next few days, she stayed by his side. She didn't do much, just sat with him, helped him eat, sometimes read aloud when he couldn't sleep. Slowly, his condition improved. The doctors were stunned. His assistant, Mr. Chen, started following her around with a notebook, observing everything she did, what she said, what she touched, even what food she liked. It was weird, but William? He watched her differently, quietly, curiously. Sometimes, Aaliyah caught him staring, not in a creepy way, more like he was trying to solve a puzzle. She wondered what he saw in her. After all, she was just a girl from the lower side of town, with a sick mother and a life full of worries. He was a billionaire, with power, money, secrets. Two completely different worlds. Still, he started talking to her more about the company, his past, the pressure, the betrayal from people close to him. Things he said he had never told anyone. She listened. She didn't judge. And somewhere in between, they formed an unlikely bond. But not everyone was happy about it. Behind the closed doors of the Yates Corporation boardroom, trouble was brewing. William's absence had created a power vacuum, and the board members were whispering about selling parts of the company. His cousin, Marcus, who had always eyed the CEO chair, started pushing a dangerous agenda. He believed William's health was beyond saving, and that this unknown girl was part of some scam. "She's a distraction," Marcus told the others. "Or worse, she's a threat." But Marcus wasn't just worried about business. He had secrets of his own, ones that William had been getting too close to. A money laundering trail, hidden deals, and if William recovered fully, Marcus knew his days were numbered. So he made a plan. Meanwhile, Aaliyah was facing her own problems. The media had somehow gotten hold of her name. Reporters started camping outside the hospital. Her neighbors were talking. Her landlord demanded more rent, thinking she had rich friends now. And worst of all, her mother's condition suddenly worsened. She asked William if she could leave for a day to visit the public hospital. He nodded, though his eyes betrayed hesitation. "Be careful," he said. "You're not invisible anymore." She didn't understand what he meant until she stepped outside and was nearly shoved to the ground by a man with a camera. "Miss Aaliyah, did you really save William Yates's life? Are you in a relationship? Are you after his money?" She ran. She reached the hospital exhausted, only to find her mother's medication had been delayed due to unpaid bills. She tried explaining that help was coming, but the nurses just shook their heads. Rules were rules. That night, she returned to William in tears. "I can't do this," she whispered. "I don't belong in your world." He reached out gently, touched her hand. "Neither do I, sometimes." The moment felt raw, real. But what neither of them knew was that Marcus had already made his next move. Late that night, a nurse slipped something into William's IV. Not poison, something worse. A drug that mimicked his symptoms, slowly shutting down his nervous system. The doctors were baffled when William's condition suddenly reversed. His breathing weakened. He became disoriented. Aaliyah, frantic, stayed by his side. "This can't be happening again," she whispered. The doctors tried everything. Nothing worked, until she held his hand again. Within minutes, his heart rate steadied. He calmed, and the medical machines around him started beeping normally again. Everyone in the room froze. One doctor turned to Mr. Chen. "She's the trigger. It's not just coincidence. Her presence. It stabilizes something in him." Mr. Chen rushed to alert the internal security team. Aaliyah sat beside William, shaking, as he finally opened his eyes. "Someone did this," he whispered hoarsely. Aaliyah looked at him, eyes wide. "Who?" But before he could answer, a loud bang echoed down the hallway. Security alarms started blaring. The lights flickered, and then the door burst open. Marcus stood there, flanked by two men in black suits, holding a legal document. "I'm taking over, William," he said coldly. Effective immediately, Aaliyah stood up. "You can't do this." "Oh, but I can." "He's unstable. Look at him. He's a danger to himself and this company." "And you?" Marcus sneered. "You're just a poor girl with no qualifications. A nobody." She didn't say anything, but her fists clenched. William tried to speak, but Marcus turned away. "Take her out of here." The guards moved forward, but right then, something unexpected happened. William, barely able to stand, pushed himself up. "No one touches her," he growled. His voice was hoarse, but filled with fire, a strength that had been missing for weeks. Everyone stopped. Aaliyah looked at him, stunned, and for the first time she realized she wasn't just his antidote. She was his strength. But Marcus wasn't done. Not by a long shot. And the worst was yet to come. William's voice echoed through the tense silence, sharp and unyielding. despite the weakness still lingering in his body. No one touches her. His words hung heavy in the air, a challenge that no one expected. Least of all Marcus. The guards froze, caught between duty and the undeniable presence of their CEO. Aaliyah's heart pounded fiercely. She had never seen this side of William before. The man who had seemed fragile, distant, and lost, now standing tall with a fire she hadn't imagined possible. It was as if the bond they shared gave him a new life, a new reason to fight. Marcus's cold smirk faltered, replaced by a flicker of uncertainty. He looked around, trying to rally his men, but something had shifted. The room was no longer his. Suddenly, the door swung open again, and Mr. Chen rushed in, holding a thick folder of documents. "I have proof," he said breathlessly. "Proof that Marcus has been embezzling funds, sabotaging the company from within. This is enough to remove him legally and protect the CEO's position." The guards hesitated. Marcus's expression turned from confident to desperate. "You're lying," he snapped. But the evidence was clear. Financial records, signed contracts, hidden transactions, all exposing his betrayal. William's gaze met Aaliyah's, full of gratitude and something deeper, a silent thank you for standing by him when no one else did. "We're not done yet," he said quietly, squeezing her hand. "But this is a start." Marcus was escorted out under security watch, his threats turning into empty echoes as he disappeared down the hall. The boardroom atmosphere softened. Tension gave way to relief. In the days that followed, William's health steadily improved. The doctors were amazed, but the truth was clear to those who had witnessed it. Aaliyah's presence was more than comfort. She was his anchor, his antidote, not just in a medical sense, but for his soul. Their connection had healed wounds far deeper than illness. Aaliyah's world changed too. From a struggling girl barely making ends meet, she had become a vital part of a powerful man's life and a symbol of hope. The media frenzy quieted as the truth came out, and rather than pity or suspicion, she earned respect. One afternoon, sitting in the same hospital room where their story had begun, William turned to her. "You saved me," he said simply. "More than anyone ever could." She smiled softly. "Maybe we saved each other." The company stabilized, Marcus's damage repaired, and a new chapter began for the Yates Corporation, one led by honesty, strength, and an unexpected partnership that no one saw coming. For Aaliyah, the journey wasn't about wealth or power. It was about courage, kindness, and standing up when it mattered most. For William, it was a lesson in humility and trust. And for both of them, it was proof that sometimes the greatest antidote isn't a medicine. It's a human heart willing to fight alongside you. As they looked toward the future, uncertain but hopeful, one thing was clear: their lives would never be the same again. This story reminds us that strength often comes from the most unlikely places, and that true healing goes beyond the body. It's about connection, trust, and believing in each other when the world doubts you. Thank you for joining this journey. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring tales. Until next time, remember, sometimes all it takes is one person to change everything.